All right, let's talk about weed. I thought this was interesting. California Governor Jerry Brown was on Meet the Press. And even though we've got a great amount of momentum behind legalization, he's not totally for it. Let's take a look.
40 years ago, we weren't talking about legalizing marijuana in states either. Is that a good idea or a bad idea for California?
Well, we have medical marijuana, which gets very close to what they have in Colorado and Washington. I'd really like those two states to show us how it's going to work. The problem with anything, a certain amount is okay, but there is a tendency to go to extremes. And all of a sudden, if there's advertising and legitimacy, how many people can get stoned and still have a great state or a great nation? World's pretty dangerous, very competitive. I think we need to stay alert, if not 24 hours a day, more than some of the potheads might be able to put together.
Yes, the world is very dangerous, and obviously if you legalize weed, the guys in charge of the nukes are going to be stoned, of course.
He was stoned while he was being interviewed.
That would explain it, actually. But wait, so he talked about the advertising. So the first commercial for marijuana has come out, and let's take a look at a bit of that.
Yo, you want sushi? I got sushi. I got the best sushi. This area's dry, man. You know that. I know that. Ain't nobody selling but me. I got tuna. I got salmon. I got sweet shrimp. I got the finest sashimi this area has seen in years. You need me and I need you. Let's make this work. You buy some sashimi, I'll throw in some rice paper, man. Totally free. Gratis. I got everything. Even California rolls, baby.
You wouldn't buy your sushi from this guy, so why would you buy your marijuana from him? MarijuanaDoctors.com is the only service that connects patients with real doctors for medical marijuana recommendations. Simple, confidential, safe.
Okay, clearly a very powerful commercial. I just want to say, in defense of the guys that deal weed, I've bought a lot of weed in my day from a bunch of different people. I've never had a weed guy. Have any of you bought weed and had the weed guy been like, and here's crack? Right, like go like this, and here's everything else. I got heroin over here and meth over here. The weed guy sells weed. It's the other drug dealers, I think, generally, right? Is that
knows another drug dealer?
Right.
Like he can kick you up the chain probably, but he's not it. You know, he's just some NYU kid who's like trying to.
Yeah. I think that's like almost like the problem with lumping people who do stand-up like monologists with prop comics. You know, it's a very different genre.
Totally. Yeah.
Pot is pot, and the other stuff. It's a different market. It's just a different market.
So in the eyes of the stand-up, pure stand-ups, we're the weed, right?'re the one that's okay, that's good, that makes you giggle.
I mean, I like to think I'm the weed.
Prop comics, that's like, well, that's meth. You start one day, you go down that road.
Now you're making me feel bad.
Yeah, now you're never going to open for Carrot Top.
Now I feel terrible. But I just think, but my point is that it's a whole different genre, and people always, to their, because they want to make a sale, they're lumping them together.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too hung up on the commercial, but one thing I think is interesting is that now that we have commercials for weed, isn't it interesting that they immediately went to the fear angle?
Of course.
Like, so marketing is so based in fear because there's nothing scary about weed. Every study proves that. And yet for the first commercial, they immediately went to something awful is going to happen.
You don't want to buy from this guy.
Yeah. So what does that tell you about? What does that tell you about marketing and advertising? Even for weed? Come on, man.
I just think it means weed's gone mainstream. Like now weed is sold to us the same way that prescription medicine is sold to us, which is actually much more dangerous in a lot of cases. I mean, if you're going to give, like, if weed was advertised like most prescription medicine, and at the end they have to do that, fast-speaking disclaimer, which it seems year after year it gets longer and like a bigger percentage of the commercial.
Diarrhea,
is just like
suicide, vomiting, extra suicide.
Nobody can hear what they're saying anyway. It's a complete legalese.
Exactly. And so what would the weed one be like? You'll get hungry. Occasionally you'll be a little paranoid. May watch 10 episodes of House of Cards in a row. Like, I'll take my chances with those side effects.
Yeah.
Every study shows that alcohol is just as, if not more dangerous than weed.
Definitely more dangerous.
What we're thinking that nobody who has their hand on the nuke is an alcoholic. Nobody who's in government is an alcoholic. Like,
look at Rob Ford. I mean, just to be glaringly obvious. I mean, and that's to the one we see. There were plenty of people who are alcoholics who don't deal with it.
And look at great.
Well, we had Trey Radell down in Florida just 2 months ago, caught buying coke. He was a congressman down in
and weed has. If I found out that Barack Obama was still in the Shoom gang or whatever I think that's what he called it when he was a kid.
Right.
If he was still smoking weed every day, I would not be like, oh my stars, like no more so than when I find out like he's having a beer summit with somebody.
Right.
Like
that damn beer summit. Yeah.
Just to go back to Jerry Brown,
Yes,
and just what you said. I mean, that he was saying that he wouldn't think it would be a good idea because people would go overboard, basically. That definitely he should talk about alcohol. I mean, why is that okay to sell that? And people clearly abuse alcohol.
Yeah.
And marijuana is nowhere near as harmful.
And so someone like Jerry Brown, who is the governor of the state, we have it's basically legal here, I think almost recreationally, at least in LA. I mean, anyone can get weed at any time. There's no evidence that crime is going up. Finally, they can tax it, and it actually, there are benefits to the state. Is he just completely out of touch, or is he, what base is he playing to? That's what I don't understand in California. Who is he playing to?
There's a lobby. There's some kind of lobby, because if he really believed what he was saying, then alcohol would not be as widely available.
Yeah, and I think you raise a great point that it is basically legal. A weed doctor in LA is a joke of a doctor. I have a marijuana card. When I went to go to the consultation or whatever, the woman tried to upsell me Botox in the room. She was, I get migraines occasionally, and that was my reason for getting a weed card.
Yeah.
Legitimate.
What is it? What kind of Botox? A little forehead or what?
Yeah, well, that's what she said. She's like, well, you get migraines, I can clear that up with a little Botox here and a little Botox here, $145 a shot. I can do it right here, right now.
Wow.
If you're like, and it's like, okay, this is better than being able to walk into a store and like meet my friendly neighborhood clerk and be like, yes, sir, I would just I have to go through the Botox lady,
Yeah.
Does that help though?
No, I don't think so. I think she's full of crap.
No, because I get migraines sometimes too. I'm just
there you go.
curious.
Maybe you just gotta tighten up.
It's funny, and it also goes against my initial thought, which was that the weed guys only sell you weed. Now that it's getting legalized, the weed people are also selling you Botox.
They're selling you
apparently.
Botox. It's not, and it is basically legal here. It's to act like it's not is.
Well, it's legal medically,
right?
But you can't go into
for all intents and purposes,
you can walk into any of these storefront doctors who advertise immediate whatever. You pay $70 and you tell them you get anxious. And
but whereas in Colorado you don't have to go to the doctor. You can just go to the store.
Yeah. So. Okay, so if his angle is that there's got to be some lobby or something, but what is the fear factor with him? I don't understand. With someone like him, I assume he believes in science and studies. So I don't get what the other piece of this is. Like, what the piece that says, suddenly if it's legal, everyone's going to become a pothead. And as a nation, we're going to become dumber, because I don't think there's even any reason to believe that more people are going to start smoking weed necessarily. No one now doesn't smoke weed because it's illegal.
They can't get it, right.
Or
if
they
you
can't
want
get
weed,
it.
you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea what. I mean, there's something going on. There are some conversations going on behind that he's not copping to, because that's ridiculous. Especially who he used to be. I mean,
Yeah.
He was Jerry Brown.
He was a hip dude at one time, or something close to it.
Everybody grows and everybody changes, but
don't you grow the other way? Isn't that? Aren't you supposed to grow the other way?
What, more liberal?
Yeah. But I guess people don't. I guess.
But I think that he's definitely out of touch. He's definitely, at least that's what he sounds like.
Yeah. All right, bring us home.
I think the real simple fact is that nobody has ever gotten kicked out of office for seeming anti-drug. It's a really easy, cheap way to make points. He's not going to lose any, he's not going to lose votes by saying it. And the fact of the matter is, that horse has left the barn here already. So he can get on TV and say, we don't want too much pot in this country, it's going to be dangerous. And meanwhile, all his constituents can get weed if they want it. And he gets to look like he's strong on drugs, tough on crime,
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure it's just going to go down the same way gay marriage has gone down, which is just going to be state by state by state. I guess it's going to take a little longer in California than we might have thought.